بسم الله.
وعن جعفر بن وقال الحسن انما مر بجنازه يهودي وكان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على طريقها جالسا وكره ان تعلو راسه جنازه يهودي فقام. رواه النسائي.
Okay, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم. عن جعفر بن محمد عن أبيه, narrating the authority of Ja'far ibn Muhammad, and he intends from his father, أن الحسن بن علي, that is Hassan ibn Ali, the son of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the grandson of Rasulullah, كان جالسا, once he was sitting, فمر عليه بجنازة, so once he was sitting, a janaza passed by, right? فقال الناس حتى جاوزت الجنازة. So people said, when you can say the janaza passed. وقال حسن إنما مر بجنازة يهودي. Verily the janaza of a Jew was taken past here, right? وكان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على طريقها, and once Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم was upon the road sitting, وكره أن تعلو رأسه جنازة يهودي فقام, and then the janaza of a Jew was passed by, but Nabi Sallallahu disliked that and ta'alua, right? That Nabi Sallallahu disliked that the janaza of a Jew, the body of a Jew, must be above his head, yani above the head of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So you see here, we discussed this before already, right? That initially Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when a janaza would pass, he would stand up, but afterwards he stopped that action, right? So that is the preferred action of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he never. But here, even here, if you look here, that what did Hazrat Hassan faqal Hassan? So hatta see, he remained sitting, كان جالسا فمر عليه بجنازة فقام الناس حتى جاوز فقال حسن إنما مر بجنازة يهودين وكان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على طريقها جالسا وكريه. So he never stood up. Hassan didn't stand up, and then he gave the reason why Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood up. He said Rasulullah stood up because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't want the head of a Jew to be above his head, or the body of a Jew to be above his head. So that's the normal paradigm, the normal explanation to all of these hadith are what? That we say that Rasulullah initially stood up, but then after that he never stood up, right? Here there's a different angle, there's a different spin, and the different angle is just what? That the reason why Nabi stood up was he didn't want the body of a non-Muslim to be higher than his head. That is why he stood up. So that could be a reason for him standing up initially also, right? Just 1 second. So he basically he was saying there's no need for you to stand. Nabi Sallallahu had a valid reason to stand. So he stood for this reason. But for you people, you don't have to stand, right? So there's no need for you to stand. There is another riwayat where Hazrat Hassan radiallahu ta'ala also objects to Ibn Abbas for not standing. So maybe that objection that he gave to Hazrat Ibn Abbas, that was when he was not aware that the hukum is mansukh. You understand what I'm saying? It was when he was not mansukh. So there is a riwayat where he tells Ibn Abbas, why don't you stand up also, right? And we told you that like to stand up out of this. Sometimes maybe a person is just like, in awe, or you're just taken by shock, or you're taken by surprise, or maybe you're standing up for the sake of the angels. Right? Okay, read the next riwayat. Okay, okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وانا ابي موسى نريتنا اثر ابو موسى ان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الرسول مر به جنازة a جنازة passed by him جنازة يهودين the جنازة of a Jew or Nasrani or either with the Christians from somebody from the Ahlul Kitab, right? Right? فمسلمين فقوموا لها. He said that we said قوموا لها, stand up for it. فلستم لها تقوموا, you're not standing up because of respect of this. إنما تقوموا لما معها من الملائكة, verily you're standing out of respect for the malaika. رواه أحمد. Imam Ahmad narrates this particular right. Okay, so we discussed this in detail. We said that this hukum was mansukh eventually, but this maybe refers to the early taken by surprise, or maybe also it could be because like how it's mentioned here in the hadith also, that Nabi Sallallahu didn't want the cursed body of a nice Muslim to be higher than his head, right? Read the next riwayat. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Narrated the authority of the Anas, he said, a janazah passed by Rasulullah Sallallahu. He stood up and it was said that this is the janazah of a Jew. He said, yes, I agree with you, the Jew, but I never stood up for him out of respect for the deceased. I stood up because of the Malaika. Rawahu Nasa'i, Imam Nasa'i narrates particularly right. We discussed this in detail. Carry on. إلا أوجب يغس. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On Malik ibn Hubayra, narrating the authority of Malik ibn Hubayra, he said, I heard the Rasul saying that there is no Muslim yamutu that passes away, right? فيصلي عليه ثلاثة صفوف. Then three safs read janazah namaz upon him from the Muslims. إلا أوجب, except that it has become like necessary, wajib, right? Carry on. جزأهم, right? Right. So as Malik ibn Hubayra, إذا استقل أهل الجنازة, when the attendees of a janazah, he found them to be little, irrespective of how much they were, جزأهم ثلاثة صفوف, you divide them into three. That's why even today you see what we do, even if the people are less, you make sure that you rather make the sufuf small, and you make them into three sufuf, right? جزأهم ثلاثة صفوف. Why? Because لهذا الحديث رواه, right? Because of this hadith رواه Abu Dawud, that Abu Dawud narrated it. Carry on. الناس عليها جزء أو ثلاثة أجزاء ثم قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Right. So he's saying وفي رواية الترمذي, رواية الترمذي الشريف, قال كان مالك بن هبيرة, مالك بن هبيرة إذا صلى على جنازة, when he would pray upon a janazah, فتقال الناس عليها, he found the people to be a bit less, جزأهم ثلاثة صفوف, you would divide them into three صفوف, right? ثم قال he said قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من صلى عليه ثلاثة صفوف أوجب, that person who three sufuf read upon him, then wajaba, it becomes necessary for him. What becomes necessary for him? Jannat becomes necessary for him. Rawa ibn Majah nahwahu, the Majah narrates a riwayat similar to this. So illa awjaba, we know for a fact that nothing is necessary upon Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala is Maliki Yawmiddin. Allah Ta'ala is Ahkamul Hakimin. Nobody can, something become wajib upon you, if something is obligatory upon you, somebody can come and say, but this was obligatory upon you, why didn't you do it? And they can mete out some type of punishment to you, etc., etc. You understand what I'm saying? But here we know nobody, Allah Ta'ala don't have to answer to anybody. So when we say it is wajib, what do we mean? It is necessary upon Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala has promised it, that he will do that. That's what it means. And we know Allah Ta'ala, inna Allah la yukhliful mi'ad. Allah Ta'ala doesn't go against his promise. So Allah Ta'ala promised that when three sufuf or more pray upon the deceased, the janazah salah, Allah Ta'ala is promised what? Allah Ta'ala is promised that this person will be forgiven. And when Allah Ta'ala promised something, Allah Ta'ala won't go against his promise. That is why you see normally the imam, you will make sure that he is from the front. He say, oh, we got three sufuf there, or if you got the odd number of sufuf, etc. And once he's sure that we got the odd number of sufuf, then he will continue. Okay, carry on, read the next riwayat, inshallah. So just remember that thing. This is a generic answer. You can use it anywhere where it says awjaba. It doesn't mean anything becomes wajib upon Allah Ta'ala. There's such a like how things become wajib upon us. If something becomes necessary upon you and you don't do it, somebody can question you and ask, why did you not do this? And there can be some type of punishment and there can be some type of retribution. But when we say something becomes wajib upon Allah Ta'ala, it means that's what I told you. It means that Allah Ta'ala has promised that, inshallah, when three people or three sufuf or more pray upon the deceased, then that person will be forgiven. And if Allah Ta'ala promised that, Allah Ta'ala won't go against his promise. Just 1 second. An interesting thing here also, that normally in salah, the first stuff is the most virtuous stuff, normal general salah. But in janazah salah, the last stuff is the most virtuous stuff. Interesting. Because the reason they give interesting reason here, when you're standing in front, it appears as though you are praying to the deceased. So the surat is not the most favorable surat. That's why it's better to be standing at the back. Read the next riwayat.
أنت هديتها وأنت قبضت روحها بها وعطيتها جئنا بشكر اغفر له.
Allah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن أبي هريرة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في الصلاة على جنازتي narrating authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he in turn narrates from the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam في الصلاة with regards to salat upon the janazah. This dua he made, Allahumma anta rabbuha. O Allah ta'ala, you are the Lord of this deceased. Wa anta khalaqtaha, and you've created it. وأنت هديتها إلى الإسلام, and you guided this deceased to Islam. وأنت قبضت روحها, and now Ya Allah Ta'ala, you've taken the ruh. وأنت أعلم بسرها وعلانيتها. Allah Ta'ala, you are most knowledgeable with regards to the secret of this person, the hidden of this, the inapparent وعلى apparent. جئنا شفعاء فاغفر لها. We've come to you to intercede on behalf of the deceased. فاغفر له, so forgive him. رواه Abu Dawud. Abu Dawud narrates this particular riwayat. Subhanallah. So Allah Ta'ala, what you got in your kitab? I think what you say is وأنت خلقتها. What you got in your kitab? Huh? And I also got فاغفر له. I think what the ha referred to as the nafs, the mayit, right? And then lahu refer to the person, a male person, right? So very beautifully, that's why we say this is actually the same like how we say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So it's from Allah Ta'ala we come, into Allah Ta'ala will return, right? So that see if you created it, ya Allah Ta'ala, you created this person, you gave it, you guided it, and this deceased, and you gave this person on loan to us, right? You gave this person on loan to us for a while, and now you took the loan back. If something belongs to you and you borrowed it to me for a certain amount of time, so the day you decide you want it back, you can take it back, right? There's no way to object. This is my pot, I borrowed it to you, right? Now I want my pot back. So I call my pot back. The pot must come back to me. I need it. So can you object? No, no. Why are you taking the pot back? So that is basically how it is. Allah Ta'ala give us a tawfiq to understand that, to assimilate that. So Allah Ta'ala gives wife, child, husband, brother, father on loan to the family, and then Allah Ta'ala takes it back. And who are we to object to that? Yes, it is tough. Definitely, it is tough to lose a spouse, to lose a parent, to lose a sibling. Allah Ta'ala protect us from that test. It's very, very difficult to speak to those people who lost a spouse after so many years. Speak to those people who lost a sibling. But this is the timeline of thinking that we should adopt. That this is Allah Ta'ala gave it on loan, and Allah Ta'ala took it back. What we can do, we can only make dua for the deceased. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must make the journey easy. Allah Ta'ala must forgive them. And we can make dua for Isal Tawab, etc., etc. Can you read the next riwayat?
قال سمعت وراء ابي هريره شديد لم يعمل خطيئه قط سمعته
Right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعن سعيد بن المسيب, رأيتنا authority of Sa'id ibn Musayyab, قال صليت وراء أبي هريرة. Once I prayed behind Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala anhu, ala sabin, for a small child, a baligh child. The child was not mature yet. لم يعمل خطيئة قط. This child did not commit any mistake ever. فسمعت يقول, I heard him saying, اللهم أعذه من عذاب القبر. Allah Ta'ala protect him from the adhab al-qabr. Rawahu Malik, when Imam Malik narrates this particular riwayat. خطيئة قط. Now we know actually when the child is not baligh yet, the child is what we call as marfu' al-qalam. They're not responsible for the actions. Only when you become baligh, then your register start ticking, right? The clock start ticking. So even if a child is not baligh does something wrong, a child that is now baligh does something that is wrong, it is not like a sin, so to say, that it's but a sin against the name. So what does it mean that Nabi Sallallahu said, "A'idhu min adhab al-qabri"? Maybe Nabi said Abu Huraira radiallahu done this ta'liman, even though this was a child, but he wanted to teach the ummah that when somebody passes away, then this is the dua you make. Or maybe it could be also mean that you are alone in your qabr, etc. Even the child will be alone, so Allah Ta'ala must make it comfortable. Allah Ta'ala must protect the child. It could mean that as well. Okay, read the next riwayat. Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعلي البخاري تعليقا. تعليق riwayat means, remember, you cut off from the rawi upwards. Né? You could be cutting the whole sanad off, or just a portion, or maybe even if Imam Bukhari narrates directly from the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it's also a ta'liq riwayat, right? So وعلي البخاري narrating authority of Imam Bukhari تعليق يسد قال يقرأ الحسن على الطفل. That has a Hassan, you should recite upon the child فاتحة الكتاب, فاتحة كتاب, ويقول اللهم اجعله لنا سلفا وفرتا وذخرا وأجرا. Allah Ta'ala make this child for us. Salafan is somebody that normally goes ahead, right? Wafaratan also is like, when you travel in the old days, you send somebody up ahead to prepare the fire, to prepare the food. Zukhran also is like a treasure. Ajran, and a reward. Allahumma ja'alhu lana farata wa ja'alhu lana ajra wa dhukhra. Also this dua also. Wa ja'alhu lana shafi'a wa mushaffa'a. So I tell you that if you look at salaf and farat, normally more or less the same meaning. I tell you, salaf also refer to like what your goods that you send up ahead. In previous days, there was no, like how we have today, hotels and Shell Ultra City, etc. So you have to send your provisions up ahead. So what this means is that, remember, if a person loses a child in infancy, then we say that child will be admitted into paradise without any reckoning. But that child will say, Ya Allah, what's the point of me going into paradise when my parents are not with me? So that child will intercede on behalf of what? Of the parents. So it is the result of that. Losing a child in infancy is like, so to say, a ticket to Jannat. So this is a great solace for people who lose children in infancy. And as ulama, maybe sometimes you'll have a congregation, from amongst your congregation, you'll have people that lose children in infancy, etc. So do you remember this when you go and console them, etc., etc.? You can use this to say that this child will be is a treasure. This child is waiting for you. This child will be your means. It's your ticket to take you in the Jannat, etc., etc. Is the next one?
Yes. قال طفل لا يصلى عليه إلا
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعن جابر أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الطفل لا يصلى عليه ولا يرث ولا يورث حتى يستهل. رواه الترمذي وابن ماجه إلا أنه لم يذكر ولا يورث. Okay, this hadith, we done this already. We said, remember, we said, if a child is stillborn, right, then it will not be considered as being a living being. There's no janazah namaz. It will just be wrapped in a cloth and it will be put in a hole respectfully, right? Narrate the authority of Jabir radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He said that Nabi Sam said, الطفل, a child, لا يصلى عليه. Janazah namaz will not be read upon it. ولا يرث, it will not inherit. ولا يورث, it will not be inherited. حتى يستهل, until it does not scream. And I told you here, it means any signs of life. So there's no janazah namaz for a small baby that's stillborn, and there's no signs of life. رواه الترمذي, Imam Tirmidhi narrates, وابن ماجه and ماجه إلا أنه لم يذكر. But in Ibn Majah's riwayat is no ولا يورث, it will not be inherited. But more or less the same meaning, right? Carry on. في المجتمع. Okay, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن أبي مسعود الأنصاري narrated the authority of Abu Mas'ud الأنصاري قال نهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم prohibited أن يقوم الإمام that the imam must stand فوق شيء above something والناس خلفه يعني the people بعلم يعني أسفل منه. رواه الدارقطني في المجتبى في كتاب الجنائز. So what this hadith is saying is that it shouldn't be that the imam stands on a platform and the people behind him, they stand on the ground. So the imam shouldn't get elevated position. Yes, if the imam is standing platform, like how you see sometimes by the ijtimas in it, then what they do is they put some of the musallin on top, then it's fine. Because the imam doesn't have a distinguished position. So this here basically doesn't only refer to janazah namaz, but it refers to all salawat. That whether it is a janazah namaz or whether it is a normal salat, that the imam should be on the same level as the what? As the musallin. And if there is a need to put the imam on the platform, whatever, etc., then you must make some of the musallin stand with the imam there, right? Okay, read. I think that brings us to the end of that chapter, right? So yeah. This is called musawat fil makan. There must be musawat fil makan. They must be on the same platform. Okay, alhamdulillah, that brings us to the end of that chapter. There was a chapter of picking up the janazah. What was the heading there at the beginning? What was it loud? Babul mashi bil janazati. Allah Ta'ala accept what we've done thus far. Allah Ta'ala give us the tawfiq to practice upon all the lessons. Allah Ta'ala show it to us in our mizan. Allah Ta'ala make it a means of shifa also for all those that are ill and ailing. So yeah, Allah Ta'ala accept inshallah. Ameen. Allah Ta'ala show what was Qiyamah Day. Now we're going to start the next chapter. Read the heading there. Right, so the next chapter was regards to the actual bearing of the deceased, right? Bearing. So yeah, we were just discussing like how you will carry, where you will stand, all that type of thing. Now the actual bearing, we will discuss that inshallah. So Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, قال الله تعالى ثم أماته فأقبره. Then Allah Ta'ala أماته, he gives death, فأقبره, and then he places him in the qabr, obviously through the medium of the people. ثم إذا شاء أنشره, then when Allah Ta'ala wishes, he will resurrect him for another time. So this is actually thubut. This is proof from the Quran that the correct way of disposing, well, I won't say disposing, okay, the correct way of what will I say, the correct thing to do after a person passes away is to respectfully put him in the earth. And in fact, maybe the hadith منها خلقناكم وفيها نعيدكم ومنها نخرجكم تارة أخرى. From it you have come. Remember we done that riwayat also, that Allah Ta'ala, we done this last in Mishkaat Shareef. Allah Ta'ala took the sand, a handful of sand, and he took from the different types of sand throughout the world. And from that he created Adam alayhi salam, right? That's what it means. Minha khalaqnakum. From it we created you. Wa minha nu'idukum. And from that we will return you. Go back to the sand. Wa minha nukhrijukum taratan ukhra. And we will take you out from there another time, and that is before Qiyamah Day. Before Qiyamah Day you will be removed from that. That's when فَإِذَا نُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَلَا أَنْسَابَ بَيْنَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَلَا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. So from that's why it's also mustahab at the graveyard to throw 3 handfuls of sand in the grave. Say, Minha khalaqnakum, first one, wa minha nu'idukum, second one, wa minha nukhrijukum taratan akhra, and from that we'll remove you another time. So that is the mustahab action, right? So there we got our proof to say that the correct thing to do is what? Is to bury a person under the earth. منها خلقناكم. So when a person passes away, that person is not, so to say, like if Luqman passed away, Allah Ta'ala give him a long age, inshallah. You don't refer to him as Luqman anymore. What you refer to him as the Mayit. What time will they pick up the Mayit? What time they pick up the Janaza? Because his ruh has left him. But even though he is not Luqman anymore, or even though his ruh, which is asal, remember we told you like how a person rides a horse or you ride a motorcycle, that is only a conveyance to take you from one place to another place. So your body also is a conveyance in this dunya. So whether it's a Muslim or whether it is a kafir, we still treat that body with respect. What we do? We protect the body from being abused. We protect the body from being eaten up by wild animals. We respectfully place it in the grave. From where it has come originally. If you look like some other cultures, like the Hindus actually, or sometimes even in the Western world, they cremate the body. So if somebody object to this idea of putting a person in a qabr, etc., our answer is like how in this dunya you also love your house. If you look at your house, isn't your house is also made of sand? Isn't your house is made of stone also? Isn't your house is made of wood also? So this qabr is also your house of sand. It is your house of stone. So we know that if a person was a good person, he lived his life according to Sharia, etc., etc., then irrespective of outwardly, it will look like a narrow, small place, but Allah Ta'ala will make it large, spacious. That's why we say. So Islam is a deen of rahmat. It's a deen of fitrat, where everything is natural. And it is natural that the body comes from the soil, that the body must go back to the soil. Allah Ta'ala make us from amongst those people whose graves will be large, spacious. Like I said, let's stop there. Mu'anazim is here. So what period you have now? Abu Dawud. Bas subhanallah bihamdihi. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.